Like the rest of us, the Holy Father is devoting his prayers and intentions to those suffering through the pandemic. He's speaking out about what he's experiencing to renowned papal author and journalist Austen Ivereigh. Austen joins us now from England. And Austen, you spoke to the Holy Father in depth about his experience during this coronavirus crisis. And based off your article, he seemed very troubled by the outbreak. How did you feel the Pope was taking this?
Christina, I didn't really sit down with him. I stayed in England and he was there. He recorded his answers to questions that I gave to him. And the questions were all about the coronavirus crisis, how he was living it, and about how he, I suppose, what the meaning of it all is all for us and how we can get through it. And what I sensed from him, and particularly listening to the recording he gave me, was how deeply he's living this, that he's been thinking about it and praying about it very deeply, about the meaning of it and what we're all called to do while we're in lockdown, while we're experiencing fear and death around us. And he has some very, very profound insights.
All right. What does he say we're called to do during this time?
Well, I think he above all sees it as a time of conversion, a time, in other words, for us to begin to see what is really important and what isn't. One of the things we talked a lot about was, who are the heroes in this scenario? And he says, look at the doctors, the nurses on the front line who are willing to die in service of others. Look at the priests and the religious sisters who are serving and risking. These are the people that are holding us together, the supermarket shelf stackers and so on. And therefore, we need to really think about what is really important to us in all of this. It's a chance also for us to think about how we have used the natural world or misused the natural world, and how we can recover a better sense of balance. But his real message is, don't let the fear get to you. Don't be drawn into the desolation of the moment. Be creative, be imaginative. And in that way, we can build a new future out of this.
All right. One part of your interview made headlines. The Pope said, quote, "I don't know if these are the revenge of nature, but they are certainly nature's responses." Now, some news outlets have made the leap that the Pope was blaming climate change for the coronavirus. But that's not what the Holy Father meant, correct?
No, when he talked about the response of nature, he was referring to extreme weather events, floods, the fires in Australia and so on. He's saying that's the response of nature to the misuse of nature. He doesn't link that directly to the virus. He didn't give any kind of explanation about the cause of the virus. He did say at one point, this isn't the first plague in history. And in fact, we spent time discussing the Milan plague of 1630 because it features very heavily in a novel that he's been quoting recently. Plagues are not new, and he didn't venture any theory about that. Mm-hmm. I suppose the big message he had about nature, though, was that we need to contemplate it rather than use it, and that this is an opportunity to do that, that we need to consume and produce less and to reflect on the impact that we're having on the natural world. And of course, this is a time for that, when we're in a way, we're all off the hamster wheel, aren't we? We're all trapped and many of us are not working. Right. This is actually the moment to think about that.
All right, and experts have been talking about a new normal once the coronavirus crisis starts to die down. You asked the Pope if the virus might affect how the church operates. What did he say?
Well, the first thing about the future is, of course, he says the future is going to be very painful. He has no doubt that the economic collapse that we're living through is going to have huge consequences. Mm-hmm. About the church, what he said was that, the Holy Spirit is always remaking the church. So, there are things that we will learn from this in our experience of being church at the moment that, that will open up new paths and new ways of being. And again, his message was, be creative, be open to possibilities.
All right, Austen Ivereigh, who was given an exclusive interview with the Pope, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
An Easter Triduum unlike any other begins worldwide. Catholics are following the liturgies of Holy Week, all streamed online. The Vatican is no exception. The Eternal City, which holds many relics surrounding Jesus' Passion, typically sees 1 million tourists during Holy Week. But this year, Holy Thursday has never looked so empty. It's a stunning image, Pope Francis with only his closest collaborators, commemorating the institution of the Eucharist. During the Mass, the Pope addressed his homily to priests, especially those serving in the crisis.
Anche con I medici, infermieri, sono I santi della porta accanto.
He also remembered priests like bishops and the Pope are sinners.
e imparano a perdonare, perché loro sanno che hanno bisogno di chiedere perdono e di perdonare. Tutti siamo peccatori.
The traditional washing of the feet did not take place, nor was the Blessed Sacrament exposed at the conclusion of the Mass. The Chrism Mass was also postponed until the end of the pandemic. It blesses the holy oils used for the year's sacraments. Pope Francis typically celebrates this evening Mass in a prison and washes and kisses the feet of 12 prisoners, showing them the compassion they don't often experience. While he couldn't do that today, his prayers this week for prisoners during his daily Mass at Casa Santa Marta showed that prisoners are still on his mind and in his heart. At the Vatican, Melissa Butts, Currents News.